Grace arrived at Wyatt's house carrying milk, a fruit basket, and the yam spare rib soup she personally made. However, she was rejected at the door by her mother-in-law. Wyatt has been beaten up like this by your brother, and you still have the audacity to come? Do you want to anger him even more? Leave. We don't accept mediation. Also, please tell your brother that we don't want his compensation. Let everything follow the legal process, whatever judgment comes, so be it. No matter how Grace pleaded, her mother-in-law wouldn't let her in. Grace had no choice but to force her way in. Wyatt, come out, I have something to say to you. She rushed to the bedroom door and suddenly fell silent. Because in the bedroom, there wasn't only Wyatt, that woman was there too. She was peeling walnuts for Wyatt, who was sitting on the bed playing with his phone. Perhaps not expecting Grace to really barge in, both of their faces showed a hint of panic, but they quickly regained composure. The woman put the remaining walnuts back into the plate, elegantly tossed her hair, with 3 parts pride, 5 parts disdain, and an additional 2 parts of arrogant, I'm sitting here, what can you do about it? But what concerned Grace the most was Wyatt's recovery. Although the stitches on his head had been removed, the scars were still visible. The sutured area seemed a bit inflamed, slightly swollen. There were also lingering bruises around his eye. Currently, the most troublesome part seemed to be his leg. Despite the surgery, it was still not agile, and a crutch leaned against the bedside. At this moment, the noise from the kitchen had suddenly stopped, and Lily, the younger sister-in-law, walked out of the kitchen. She exchanged a glance with her mother, then walked behind Grace. Grace had always been good to this younger sister-in-law over the years, so Lily hesitated for a moment and called out, "Sister-in-law." This sister-in-law made Grace's heart ache for a moment. Without responding, Grace said to the two of them, "No wonder I couldn't get in. Turns out, there are distinguished guests here. You don't need to be sarcastic." The mother-in-law's tone weakened noticeably. "Wyatt is so seriously injured, and someone came to visit him out of goodwill. It's not what you think. You explain to her. Does she have a say in who I'm with?" Wyatt glanced at Grace. "Tell your brother to come and beat me up again if he dares. I'm waiting for him." Without waiting for Grace to speak, the woman stood up. "Since you have something to discuss, I'll leave first. Wyatt, take good rest. I'll come to see you tomorrow." It's good that she left, otherwise, Grace would find it challenging to speak. Grace cleared her throat. "I came to find you to suggest mediation. Don't pursue criminal charges against my brother. Whatever compensation you want, we will try to satisfy. There's nothing to talk about." Wyatt raised his injured left leg off the bed, hopped on one foot to the computer desk, grabbed a cigarette, lit it, then hopped back onto the bed. "Just now, didn't my mom already make it clear to you? I won't accept mediation, and I don't want any compensation. He hit me, and he has to pay the price. Based on my injury assessment, he'll probably get a sentence of 3 years or less." "No." Grace pleaded, "Do you know what a sentence means to a person? If my brother gets sentenced, what will happen to my sister-in-law? What about his 2 sons? How will they pursue education, enter the police academy in the future?" "Haha, isn't that just perfect?" Wyatt grinned triumphantly. "You didn't mention it, but I almost forgot about this aspect. Now, I'm even less likely to accept mediation. Wasn't your brother impressive when he beat me up? Now both his sons' futures are at stake. Quite nice. Wyatt, don't go too far. Do you not know why my brother hit you? If it weren't for your affair and domestic violence against me, how could he possibly hit you? Wyatt, touch your conscience. How have you treated me all these years? My brother cares about me, confronts you, and you provoke him with those words. If he doesn't hit you, who else would he hit? You're also an elder brother. If Lily were bullied by her husband, could you ignore it? Now, we're talking about our matters. Don't bring up Lily. Since you think your brother did nothing wrong, why did you come to me? Are you full and looking for trouble? Also, you say I had an affair, do you have any evidence? Domestic violence against you? When did I ever harm you? You cursed at me, and I just pushed you a bit. It's your own fault if you couldn't stand steady and bumped into the table. It's none of my business. If you really want me to let your brother off the hook, call him here and have him kowtow to me 3 times. Wyatt. Or if not, there's another condition." Wyatt deliberately stopped speaking, wanting Grace to realize and say it herself. From her tightly furrowed brows and the hatred in her eyes, it was clear she knew what he wanted. He looked at Grace arrogantly. Even when he saw the bloodshot eyes, the throbbing veins on her forehead, and the blood vessels on her neck almost bursting from anger, he couldn't help but laugh. He laughed recklessly and arrogantly. Grace trembled as she asked, "What condition? We can't go on like this. You say I had an affair, then I had an affair. Originally, in a divorce, I wouldn't get much. But who made your brother beat me up? And beat me up so severely? I can't just take this beating for nothing, right? I won't beat around the bush. In one sentence, if you don't want your brother in jail, you leave with nothing." Leave with nothing? Wyatt, you want me to leave with nothing? You can say whether you agree or not. I agree with your mom. Anger finally defeated reason, dominating the conversation. Grace erupted, "Wyatt, do you have no shame? I bought this house with my own efforts. I worked hard day and night, scrimped and saved for years to buy it. You, a shameless man who cheated, how can you have the face to take away everything from me, asking me to leave with nothing? Why don't you just die? If you die, I'll burn some paper for you, and then you'll have everything." Why? Because this house was bought after marriage, it belongs to the joint property of the husband and wife. Because your simple-minded and muscular stupid brother beat me. If you don't agree, fine. Let your brother go to jail, and let your 2 nephews not pass the civil service exam or enter the police academy. Your sister-in-law runs a stall, right? Let them skip school and learn to run a stall with their mom. Wyatt, go to hell. Grace grabbed her bag and smashed it at Wyatt's face. At this moment, she finally understood what her brother felt when he was beating up Wyatt. When her brother was taken away by the police, she had blamed him in her heart for being too impulsive and reckless. He didn't solve any problems for her, instead, he put her in a passive position, manipulated by this scumbag Wyatt. But now, she, driven by anger, turned into another version of her brother, launching a fierce attack on Wyatt regardless of consequences. She thought of death. There was nothing to discuss with such a person, it was better to end it altogether. Her daughter was not a child anymore, studying in a boarding school, having learned to take care of herself. She would kill Wyatt first and then his mother. Over the years, she had incited Wyatt to quarrel with her, even bullying and exploiting her. She even suspected that Wyatt's affair was something she knew about long ago. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. As for Lily, she had not done anything unforgivable, she could be spared. Let it be like this. Destroy everything together. It's better than having the scum continue to lord over her. What are you doing? Are you crazy? The mother-in-law rushed forward, pushed Grace down, and shouted, "Wyatt is already like this, and you still lay hands on her. With your current state, you still expect Wyatt to let go of your brother? You're dreaming. Let me tell you, even if Wyatt is willing to let go of your brother, I won't agree. You and your brother are the same, both worthless. Your whole family is a bunch of thugs. Both you and your brother should go to jail. Lily, call the police now, tell them this woman assaulted your brother, let the police arrest her too." Just a push wouldn't be enough to warrant a call to the police. But watching her own brother get beaten up, Lily was somewhat displeased. "Sister-in-law, not that I'm saying, why resort to violence? My brother is already injured." Supported by his mother and Lily, Wyatt stood up unsteadily, pointing at Grace's nose. "You're finished, Grace. I'm telling you, you're finished." Grace returned home in a daze, only to find her brother, sister-in-law, and 2 nephews squatting at the doorstep, waiting for her. Her sister-in-law was the first to stand up, eyes filled with both anticipation and anxiety. "Grace, how did it go?" Her sister-in-law, who ran a food stall all year round, had rough and yellowed skin. Now, with sunken eye sockets, she looked even more exhausted. As for her brother, due to taking on the burdens of life too early, he already looked older than peers. After this incident, he seemed to age 10 years overnight, and even the hair at his temples turned white. Their parents passed away early, and Grace was raised by her brother alone. At that time, he was only a teenager, working in the fields, taking care of her meals, and working part-time to earn money. At a tender age, he turned into a dried-up little old man. His hair was always gray, and when he stretched out his hands, they no longer resembled hands but rather a series of deep and shallow cracks. Later, she went to college, earned money, got married, and life became better. But her brother's concern for her never changed. He could roll in the mud himself, but he couldn't bear to see her suffer even a little. She knew her brother valued her more than himself, knew he was impulsive, yet she couldn't resist telling him everything about Wyatt, leading to the subsequent events. If there was any fault, it was all her fault. Grace knew that, despite her brother's words asking her not to blame herself, he was afraid deep down. Especially when he heard that having a criminal record could affect the next generation. Because one child planned to take the civil service exam, and the other's lifelong dream was to enter the police academy. They were both so outstanding and promising. How could he ruin their future because of his impulsiveness? Because of fear, he turned white overnight. Because of fear, he came together with his wife to discuss the outcome with Grace. Facing her sister-in-law, Grace always felt more guilty than grateful. Her brother's meticulous care for her all these years must have been endured by her sister-in-law. Whether she liked it or not, with how much resentment she had. In her heart, she ultimately agreed with her husband's decision. So, after establishing a family and a career, Grace always sought opportunities to repay them. She thought the most practical and straightforward way was to give them money. But her brother never accepted it, even returning every red envelope she secretly slipped to her nephews without taking a penny. He told her more than once that taking care of her, supporting her education, was his responsibility as an older brother. It was his duty to their deceased parents, and he didn't need her to repay anything. Such a good brother, such a kind person, ended up in such trouble for her, putting the family in an unprecedented predicament. At this moment, she hated the unfairness of fate. Why let scum like Wyatt live? Couldn't a lightning strike just kill him? What? You also hit him? Hearing Grace recount the situation, her sister-in-law exclaimed, "Oh my goodness. What are you doing? You went there to plead with him, how could you dare to lay hands on him again? Are you trying to harm your brother?" Grace couldn't speak through her tears. Don't say it like that. Grace is also not feeling well. Is she not feeling well? If she's not feeling well, does that mean we have to suffer along with her? What have we done to deserve this? Jason, since I followed you, I've never had a good day. Just think about it, how much hardship have you endured for her all these years? How much have you sacrificed for your 2 sons because of her? And now, you want to ruin the future of our 2 sons for her. Jason, let me tell you, if you're really sentenced, I'll divorce you. Her sister-in-law's crying sounded like a sharp knife stabbing into Grace's heart. Grace stopped crying, took a deep breath, and said, "Sister-in-law, don't be sad. I will find another way. I'll go talk to Wyatt again, I'll try to reason with him." How can you talk now? Her sister-in-law continued to cry while covering her face. You've already hit him. How could he possibly let your brother go? What should I say about you? Your brother hits people, and you also hit people. You two really are a great pair of siblings. You infuriate me. The next day, Grace didn't go directly to her mother-in-law's house. Instead, she called Lily. Lily sighed and said, "Sister-in-law, whatever you say this time won't work. My brother definitely won't meet with you." But Grace didn't get straight to the point. Instead, she asked Lily, "Lily, if it weren't for this incident, what do you think of your sister-in-law?" Lily was surprised. "Sister-in-law, I don't think what you're like matters. The key is my mom and my brother. To be honest, I think you're good, you treat me well, but I don't know why you and my mom just don't get along, and you always argue with my brother. As for my brother's matter, he did something really crappy, I admit he's wrong to you. But he's still my brother, breaking a bone still has some connection to the tendons. I can't turn against my brother for you. Sister-in-law, actually, before my brother was hit, I advised him to cut ties with that woman, I even scolded her. After my brother was hit, I also advised him not to sue your brother, to let him pay some money and be done with it. But then my mom scolded me. Sister-in-law, I really can't help with this matter. If you hadn't laid hands on my brother yesterday, maybe I could have said a few more words in support, but now, I'm helpless." Grace smiled contentedly. "Lily, with words like yours, my sister-in-law should feel much better. Do you know why your mom treats me and your brother that way? Because I'm willing to be good to you. Why? Because I also have a sister-in-law who's exceptionally good to me. I was raised by my brother, and over the years, my sister-in-law has complained privately, even cried because my brother gives me everything. But every time I come home on vacation, she still prepares a table full of delicious dishes for me. When I'm about to leave, she manages to squeeze out a little money for me from the meager living expenses. She complains that my brother is too good to me, but she has done quite a bit for me. She's just that soft-hearted, soft for so many years, which is why I am where I am today. Because I had a good sister-in-law, when I became a sister-in-law myself, I wanted to be like her, a good sister-in-law. Of course, it's also because you, yourself, are reasonable and someone worth getting close to. Lily's nose tingled. Sister-in-law, please don't say that. Lily, I made this call to let you convey to your mom and your brother that I agree to their conditions. I can divorce him, leave with nothing, but he must go to the police station and issue a letter of understanding to withdraw the case. Over the phone, Grace sensed Lily's shock and guilt. Lily choked up. Sister-in-law, it's our family that has wronged you. I will talk to my brother, and I'll also persuade him to give you some money. I don't want you to suffer for that woman. They like her, but I don't like her. Grace paid the price of leaving with nothing but regained peace for her brother's family. However, she didn't disclose the true situation to them. It wasn't until several months later when they came to bring persimmons and chestnuts from their hometown that they found Wyatt, the third party, answering the door. That's when they learned about Grace leaving with nothing. Jason, devastated, rushed in, grabbed Wyatt's collar, and was about to throw a punch but was scolded by his wife. Didn't you learn your lesson from last time? Grace doesn't have a second set of family property to let you squander. Only then did Jason release his grip. On that day, Jason cried bitterly on the phone, but Grace's heart was calm. She said, "Brother, when you were taken away by the police, you told me not to be afraid, not to blame myself. Why are you blaming yourself now? Back then, you didn't blame me, and now I don't blame you either. We didn't do anything wrong, we're not foolish. It's just that we have humanity, normal human emotions, so we were taken advantage of by that scum Wyatt. In fact, I've been living a very tiring life for these years, really exhausting. I wanted a divorce a long time ago, just couldn't bear to let him take away the property I earned. As a result, I paid a much higher price than that property. I quarreled with my mother-in-law every day, fought with Wyatt like a cat and mouse. I couldn't eat well, couldn't sleep well, my temper got worse, my mentality deteriorated, and my health declined. Suicidal thoughts crossed my mind from time to time. Not anymore. After the divorce, my life has changed a lot. I seem to have lost a lot, but I've gained even more. I no longer have to face malicious people and things every day, no longer have to live with tense nerves. I've relaxed, slept until dawn every day, it's wonderful. Before, I felt very tired after a day, but now, despite having a much heavier workload, I don't feel tired at all, only fulfilled and satisfied. If I had known that giving up the property would make my life better, I might have given up long ago. You're just trying to comfort me. It's not comforting, it's the truth. Brother, it's only after going through this that I understand how people should live, realizing that whether a person is happy or not depends on their ability to make choices. In the past, I was bound by things that I thought were very important, living miserably and embarrassed. Not anymore. I will work hard and live well. Compared to what I lost, I care more about what I gained. So, brother, you don't need to feel sorry for me. As for Wyatt, he will have his retribution. In truth, Grace didn't believe in retribution anymore. In the past, she hoped for retribution, but now she thought differently. Her ex-husband's life had nothing to do with her, and she didn't want to waste any emotions on garbage. She wanted to channel all her energy into self-care, accumulating her strength, money, and small happiness, until she achieved a rebirth.